This is the Engage Your Destiny podcast, where your destiny is our mission. Serving our active military, veterans, and families. Welcome to the show.
Hello and welcome to the Engage Your Destiny podcast. I'm Ben Peterson, the founder and CEO of Engage Your Destiny. It's such a blessing to have you guys with us as we have our military, veterans, families, first responders, and of course, our warriors at heart. Man, you guys, we want to be on mission, being a part of you guys finding your destiny. And that's why we've launched this video podcast to tell incredible stories of veterans, first responders, military folks, and how faith impacted their journey and how they walked through some incredibly difficult times and were able to find faith or in the middle of it or after it. And so we want to encourage you guys to like, subscribe, follow this podcast. Please share it. And of course, there is the latest Engage Your Destiny book with the practical ways that you can run after your God-given purpose. And I want to encourage you to go out, get a copy of that. That's going to support the ministry and the work that we're doing on active duty bases around the world. We love you guys, and we're so grateful for you. Mike Foster, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, man, it's good to have you here.
Good to see you.
So everyone who comes on the show gets a gift, little Sean Ryan style.
Absolutely.
So this is shouting out the Mission merch guys right here in Columbia, Tennessee. So they designed these hats two-tone, but I wanted to give this to you as a gift and
Thank you.
wear it proud. And
Appreciate it.
Thank you for taking the time to come
Definitely
on the show,
will,
man.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah,
Appreciate it.
So a little bit of your bio here as we're going to get into some pretty incredible parts of your journey. So Mike Foster, you were born in Littleton, Colorado. At 14 years old, you survived the Columbine Massacre. You joined the Marine Corps at 18 in 2002, and you mobilized to Iraq twice, first during the initial push into Baghdad, and second at the cemetery of Najaf in that battle. Then you joined the police force and in Las Vegas, where you served for 15 years. And you're now serving in personal security, protecting kids.
Kind of full circle.
Yeah, full circle, man.
Full circle.
And you're married to your bride, Michelle.
That's right.
18 years.
18 glorious years. Wouldn't change it for anything. So.
Going strong.
It's going great.
And you've got 3 kids, 16, 11, and 6.
Yep.
Your daughter just started driving.
Yeah, it's nerve-wracking.
Yeah.
Nerve-wracking time for the family, but she's great, and it's hard not, like we've talked about, hard not to be able to protect her. She's out on her own a little bit, but it's a fun time.
Yeah, it's stretching.
Yeah, absolutely.
I can't imagine. My little one's 3, and we're we're a little ways off.
Yep.
And you're a follower of Jesus.
I am.
So Mike, tell me. So you grew up in Littleton, Colorado,
Yep.
And tell me about the family you were born into.
I had an older brother. My older brother Ryan, he's 3 years older than me. He also was in the Marine Corps with me. That's another story we'll get down to that path. But 2 parents and me and my brother had a great life growing up.
Yeah.
Parents took care of us. As far as faith goes, it was kind of more just kind of Christmas, Easter. We went to church type thing. We knew who God was and stuff like that, but we weren't like in the Word all the time, like my kids are now, which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
To have them.
So faith was kind of an afterthought.
Yeah, I could. Yeah, you could say that. I mean, we didn't prioritize it like we should have in the house, but raised us well, but just didn't have the backbone of faith.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there was a moment in our country's history that has changed the country.
Yep.
I remember I was in school when Columbine took place, and after that took place, I had the consistent thought of what would I do if someone came in here with a gun, which was never a thought before Columbine.
Never. Yep.
And where were you that morning? Let's start at the very beginning. How did that morning start?
It was a nice day. It was April. I can still remember, sunny, kind of brisk out. It was a very nice day, actually. Nothing unusual about the morning. Same thing. Went to school. Was actually supposed to go to the library that day during lunchtime, which is where most of the massacre happened, in the library. For some reason, I didn't end up going to there, so I was in the cafeteria when it all started.
Why didn't you go to the library?
I have no idea. I think the person I was supposed to go with is like, hey, we're just going to do it later in the day. And so we didn't end up going. So we stayed down in the cafeteria.
So morning classes, you went to those, nothing had happened yet?
Nothing happened, no.
And Eric Harris and Klebold, they were planning, what were they doing?
I think they set up, so later we found out that they set up propane bombs in the cafeteria in like duffel bags, kind of like baseball bags.
Yeah.
No one would ever think to check that because nothing like this has ever happened. So no one would think twice about that. I think
I remember being in high school and seeing duffel bags sitting around all the time.
Right. So no one paid any attention to that. What we found out is that the timers or something malfunctioned on the bomb, so it didn't blow up. So we would all have been. Their plan was to have those go off and pick off people as they try to run out of school.
And were they on top of that cafeteria?
Kind of. They're kind of over on the top, more towards the library area, like
Wow.
on top of the building, waiting.
So you're in the cafeteria, and was there a click? Was there a noise? Was anything that alarmed you that a bomb might have gone off?
What happened is we heard some pops, which were shots, which I haven't been around at that point in my life. I haven't been around much gunfire.
Yeah.
And we saw these girls walking around. We have a pretty big cafeteria. It's a pretty big school. And I could see them walking around. That was right at the same time they're having like senior pranks. So I thought, oh, something must be going on. And then right when I saw their faces when they turned the corner, I knew something bad was because they turned around and ran back. So I was like, oh, something's going on. So
And was that them coming through and shooting people?
not quite yet. So Dave Sanders, who ended up dying, the teacher, he came through the cafeteria telling everybody to get down, and he got shot going up the stairs. We had like a double stairs going up. So he got everybody down, and then
So you're sitting there, and Dave Sanders comes in and yells, "Get down!"
yeah, and so everyone gets under their tables. Girls are crying and stuff. We have no idea what the heck's going on. The next thing you know, you hear more shots. You hear some glass break, and that's when like all hell broke loose. And then I just remember grabbing some girl under the table that was sitting with us because she was like freaking out. I just grabbed her by she had like the overalls on. Just started kind of like dragging, running. We got up and we just took out off the school, and then you heard more shots. We got down to this house right by the school. The guy wasn't gonna let us in. There's like 30 of us, and we're like, "Sir, no, we're coming in." So we just barged into his house.
So you guys just got up and ran out of the school.
Yep, just got up. Just didn't even know what the heck was going on. Just knew to run.
And did you know where Klebold and Harris were when you ran out?
We had no idea.
Yeah.
No,
You
I had
just
no
heard the
idea.
shots
And
and-
I saw these guys every day. They kind of parked. My brother was a senior. I was a freshman.
Yeah.
So I walked by these guys every day, and I always asked my brother, "Hey, what's up with these guys?" Because they're in their trench coats. One dude, like Dylan, was a big dude. He's like 6'4", you know.
Big dude in a trench coat.
Yeah. And just as a freshman, you're like, who the heck are these guys? And my brother's like, don't worry about him. Like he didn't, you know.
Yeah. Where was your brother that morning?
Luckily, he was off campus. Wow. So seniors and juniors go off campus to eat lunch.
Yeah.
So he wasn't at the school. He was on his way back, I think, when it happened.
So you guys run out, and you heard shots. So did you see your teacher get shot?
I didn't see Sanders get shot. We got out to that house. When we got in the house, then you could hear the pipe bombs going off because it's rattling the windows of the house. So, yeah.
So you heard pipe bombs going off.
Pipe bombs going off and stuff, and then we finally made our way. We knew we had to get farther away. We didn't know what exactly was going on, and then someone came and picked us up. We moved way down the neighborhood, away from the school. So,
Yeah. And then they just continued to wreak havoc.
yeah, I don't know if you remember, but for a long time.
For a long time.
Yep.
Police had never dealt with anything like this.
No.
So how long, because this happened at lunchtime, when did they finally go in? What was the tactics to go in and deal with this, especially with the bombs? And
So I don't know the tactics back then. I think it was Jefferson County that responded to the school. Like you said, they've never responded to anything like that. But they surrounded the school for a few hours, and I don't know who made the call not to go in.
Yeah.
I know that, Dave Sanders in, there's a sign, "Hey, teacher's bleeding out." I forgot what the sign said. "We need help," or whatever.
and they didn't go.
Yeah, so I didn't know. I can't speak to that as a police officer, and what I've done now, I could speak to it. But as a kid, you didn't know what was going on.
Yeah.
So
Did you know people who were killed?
we did. I mean, they were some of the. It doesn't matter what kind of kids they were, but they were the nicest kids. Wouldn't harm a fly type kids that passed away. So it was really hard to. A lot of people don't know too is there's so many people shot that live too. There's so many injured. I think there's like 50, 60 injured.
Really?
And there's a lot of people that survived gunshot wounds that day too. So lucky to not have more than 13.
And they've carried that.
They have. We went back like the 20-year, I don't want to call it anniversary, 20-year thing.
Yeah.
We go back and that was the last time my wife and I went back. We kind of said, school's a lot of it's the same. They got away with the library and stuff like that, but
Because the library just became a massacre.
yeah, so they demolished that and built a whole new library.
Wow.
So
Did your parents come and pick you up?
Yeah.
What did the rest of the day unfold like?
yeah, my dad didn't have a clue what was going on. So I called him. I said, "Hey, there was a shooting." And he's like, "Okay." Well, he thought it was like some guy got shot, and then that's it. I'm like, "No, something bad's happening at the school." And then I remember him picking me up, going back to the house. My brother got home, and towards the end of the night, I just remember this is crazy. I was sitting there, and then you see your high school up on Dateline. You're like, "What the heck's going on?"
Yeah.
It was pretty wild.
And then you found out way more about
Well, everything that happened.
everything that happened.
Yep.
So then what did you do the next day? What did they even do with all the kids?
Yeah, we ended up finishing school. I don't think we went back to school for a couple of weeks. And we finished that semester. We finished that school year at our rival school, Chatfield. So they let us come. We did like half days with them till the school year was over.
And was there just a dark cloud over the people?
Yeah, it was a really somber time, and I think it kind of the rest of my high school experience was kind of whatever. Like
Yeah.
we had fun sometimes, but it
Changed
affected a lot of
everything.
people. I mean, we had suicides, kids that lost their buddies. A couple kids committed suicide, so it was a rough time. It was a rough go for a lot of the kids.
And then next year you went back to Columbine High School.
We did.
What was that? Describe that. Going back to a school that there had been a massacre at.
That was a big deal. I think it was important to do. But as a kid, as a 14, 15-year-old at that time, that's a lot of stuff going on, a lot of emotions. So I don't know. It was good for the community. But like I said, a lot of kids struggle and probably still struggle to this day. I know my wife, she's very affected by it. She was there as well. And whenever, like if I was on duty as a cop and one of these mass shootings happened, I'd have to come home. Because she's totally, she wants to get the kids out of school, get them home, be with them. And that's totally understandable. But so that still affects her in that way.
So both you and your wife went through that. And then you joined the Marine Corps
I did.
at 18.
Yep.
So you joined the Marine Corps, and what was driving you to serve?
It's interesting. So I grew up very patriotic and patriotic. My dad was in Vietnam.
Wow.
My grandfather's World War II.
Yeah.
So we had that in our family to want to serve. I guess you could say that. Of course, 9/11 happened,
Yeah.
and that was probably just the tip on the iceberg to do it. And I didn't really want to go to college. There's something probably could have gone to college, and I was like, didn't really appeal to me. So joined the Marine Corps.
Why the Marine Corps?
So I know you're Army, so
Here we go.
You're probably not gonna like this one, but
Yeah.
so I went, and of course I went to see the Army guy first because my dad was Army, right?
Sure, yeah.
So I go in the recruiting office. I go down. I meet this guy, and he's just kind of
Here it comes.
he's just trying to sell me money, college, like stuff like. Okay, and it didn't sit with me too well, I was like, oh, maybe this isn't for me. So I'm walking back out, and I turn to the right, and I see all the Marine Corps red. Big jack dude with the high and tight sitting there. It's like, hey, you want to come talk to me? I said, all right.
Yep.
Signed 2 hours later, going to boot camp in July.
Wow.
So it took that long, but it was a good experience because my brother ended up joining later too.
Okay.
So
So you joined before him.
I did. He's older. He played soccer in college, so he was up at Oregon State playing soccer.
Okay.
When I was in Iraq the first time, he joined. And then so he was school infantry when I got back, and we actually were in Iraq at the same time the second time.
And did Columbine, joining the Marine Corps, these experiences, like did they draw you into faith? Did faith become more of a focus?
There was always that faith base, but I didn't follow I didn't follow the correct path in those times. And that's why I think what you're doing and reaching out to guys that if they can get that, like when they go through these hard times, they'll help them for the rest of their life. It would have changed a lot of stuff for me.
What do you think it would have changed?
The stress and the guilt sometimes you feel, like if you give it to God, it's amazing.
He takes it.
He takes it, and you feel it immediately. Like when you get to that point, I'm sure you know that too. it's gone. Like you don't. I used to stress about the stupidest things, and now it's like, yeah, we're good.
God's got it.
Yep, we're good.
Wow. So you were in the initial push to Iraq, and you were active duty,
Yep.
Marines,
Yep.
got called up, and take me through. I mean, because we're talking like no armor Humvees.
Yep. Slick. Yep. Riding slick.
And your enemy was not the Taliban yet. It wasn't terrorists.
No, not yet. That started happening kind of like when we were leaving. Then they started ambushing like towards the end of the deployment.
So your initial fight was against Saddam's guys.
Right, which wasn't
Anything.
much of a fight at all. So we did the tracks, went to Kuwait and then crossed the LOD, and then there we went up, did the push. And it's funny when I read the Bible now, like the Tigris and stuff, we float over that, like there's Babylon, like
it's all
and
there,
I'm like, man, and I didn't think of that at all when I was there, and I'm like, man, if I would have known where I was, it was
even where Abraham was called at the ziggurat.
Yep.
Yeah.
So it's a lot of stuff like that you don't think about when that's happening. But
so when you got into Baghdad and everything had fallen, like what did your mission become?
we didn't even really know because it was kind of like we got up there and then we went down to like a power plant in not Nasiriyah, Al-Hila, I think maybe. And we were there just doing routine patrols, like going out doing patrols in the city.
Yeah.
And then at that point, so we were there for 9 months. Like we didn't think we were going to be there that long. We
Yeah.
thought we got to Baghdad. We're like, all right, we're going home soon.
Yeah.
And they're like, no, you're not. I'm like, okay. So we did that, and then we started getting ambushed. I knew things were going to change.
Yeah.
We had a couple ambushes on us right before we left, and that's when I knew, like, okay, this is what's going to start happening.
What did take me through an ambush?
So you go on a patrol. Usually we did mounted patrols, sometimes foot patrols. And I remember going through the city when one of our guys got ambushed, and it was just completely ghost town. So you knew something was up, but we still did it. And you knew it was coming, and it just happens fast.
Yeah.
It
But
happens
do they
fast.
start off with shooting? Do they blow things up? Like,
Yeah, so they had the one they shot an RPG at one of our guys, and then the small arms fire.
yeah.
So it wasn't anything crazy. It wasn't like an anti-tank mine or something crazy like that happened. But that was like what, and that was the first time, because we had some, I don't want to call it like close combat. The first time it wasn't really, because like I said, it wasn't much. The second time was a lot different.
Really?
Way different.
So you experienced this, your first kind of firefight.
Yep.
And this is real.
Yep.
You've also, gone through arguably the most traumatic experience of the 1990s, 2000s, right? Is this starting to get to you at all? To your mental health?
I don't think it got to me till like when I got out of the Marine Corps.
Okay. Well, we'll get there.
Okay. Yep.
So you come back now. Your tours were 03, 04, 04, 05, so you weren't home very long.
No, we weren't. I mean, it was training, SOI, deployed, back for 7-8 months, deployed.
Wow. What was that 7-8 months look like? Were you talking to Michelle at all?
No, I actually started dating her after I got back from my second deployment.
Got it.
So
you're being a Marine. Where are you stationed? Pendleton.
So San Clemente.
So you're going down to San Diego.
Yep.
You're drinking, having fun.
Yep. Yeah, not
Going after those San Diego State girls.
not a good lifestyle.
Yeah.
Not a good lifestyle. I'm not proud of it. But me and my brother talk about it all the time. He's a believer now too.
Yeah. Who you used to be.
We did some dumb things.
Got it.
Yep.
So then now you're getting mobilized again.
Yep.
And are you surprised, or is it like?
No, we kind of figured we might have to go back, but we were supposed to do a regular MEU, and a MEU is just when you hit like the Philippines, Hawaii.
Yeah.
I'm sure you know what that is.
Yeah.
Well, we got to Hawaii, and we were there for a day, and they're like, everyone back on the ship, and we're like, oh, here we go. We're going back to Iraq.
So they sent you to Hawaii without telling you were going to Iraq.
Yeah, we didn't know we were going to Iraq at that point. Like we thought we were doing a regular MEU, like a training, and then here we go.
And so you took a boat to Iraq
twice.
Wow. How long is that?
It was long. It was actually really long. Because I know they have to do their, they just don't drive in a straight line. But the first one was horrible. We were on a Dubuque, which was like a little LPD-8.
Yeah.
Nasty.
Yeah.
Ships are nasty.
Yeah.
And it wasn't fun because I was a boot, so I was getting thrashed on a ship. It wasn't fun. But and the second one was a bigger boat. It was the Bellawood, which was I think that's one of the bigger boats. But I'd rather have flown.
I
For
flew.
sure.
Yeah.
For sure, would rather have flown there. We flew back both times, but going there, yeah, I don't envy the Navy at all.
So where was your entry point? I mean, did you cause I'm just trying to think geographically, was it Kuwait?
It was Kuwait, yeah.
Okay.
So we hit Kuwait both times.
Wow. Got off the ship.
Got off the ship, and then we trained for a little bit before the first push.
Yeah.
Then we were in our mop suits and all that crap.
What a mess.
Yeah. And then the second time, we went up pretty quick.
Yeah.
We got our stuff together. We had Humvees, up armored Humvees, and
Where'd you go?
went to Najaf.
Najaf. Now, where's Najaf?
Najaf is southern. I don't know if I could show a map, but it's a pretty crazy place. It has one of the world's biggest cemeteries, which I didn't know until we got there.
Wow. And that's where?
Yeah, that's where we got into it with Al-Sadr and his militia there.
So let's dig into that.
Okay.
So how long had you been there before that battle happened?
It feels like when I look back on it, it feels like it happened pretty quick. It might be a couple of weeks or something. We relieved. They had some like Spanish or someone up there that wasn't doing patrols, and then you put Marines it was kind of stirring the pot,
Jarring,
putting us up
yeah.
there. Yep. But I know we had small contact. Our Cap Bravo team had small contact with them, like a small little firefight right before the big thing popped off. And we knew something was going to really, really go haywire.
So take me through the morning and how things led up to that firefight.
Well, we had the react drills. I'm sure you know about those. Like when you're sitting and sleeping, they say react. You get up, gear up, get ready to go out. So we were ready for stuff like that. But then they called react, and they weren't saying drill. So I'm like, oh, okay. Well, here we go.
Here we go.
And as you're hitting down, it was the main road was called Miami, I think, and it led to Revolutionary Circle, which is the center of the town in Joff. And I remember we started heading down there, and I just remember, okay, I didn't hear too much, and then you start hearing small arms fire, and then you hear the cracks and the pops coming right over. I'm like, okay, it's on.
Yep.
So we got down to the center there. There's it's a pretty big, decent sized city, and there's a big building as you come around the turn around Revolutionary Circle, and we took a couple, someone was taking pop shots from us from the building. So we turned, my buddy had a 240, and everyone just dumped into this freaking building. It was great. Everyone was starting.
Yeah.
So we did that.
So that's neutralized.
Yeah. We had our CAT team come down with the 50 cal, which was going down towards the mosque. So they kind of orientated down towards the mosque, and my buddy Cater, he was the machine gunner in our battalion. He started laying down 50 cal down that way. We got up a couple of our LAR guys. I don't know if you know those.
I don't know.
Okay, light armor reconnaissance. So they kind of, it's not a tank, but it's more like they're infantry, but they get put in these LARs.
Sure.
So a couple of us went up top, got on top of the building, and you can see them come out. We haven't seen them in the cemetery yet.
Yeah.
But the cemetery is all off as you look down, all off to the right.
And is it just
And you can see them coming out, pop, and they're shooting. At the time, they're just randomly trying to get lucky with RPGs and stuff at us, kind of what they do.
across the cemetery?
Over the cemetery. We're looking over the cemetery. We're in the building now, so I'm on top of the building.
Got it.
And they had 60 mortars, and a 60 hit right behind us on the building we're at. It rocked us, man. That's the first time I got rocked by something. So we all got rocked. And I remember getting up, and I was like, okay, everyone's good. Checked everyone. Well, the LAR guy had a huge piece of shrapnel in his leg.
Yeah.
So this is probably not the best place to be up here.
Yeah.
So we got him down. They ended up shooting down one of our Hueys. The helicopter got shot down, so half of our section went to that. Got the pilot survived. They tried to take as much stuff as possible from that. And then it kind of got, I want to say a lull, but I don't know if it really ever was one. In the action, man, there's a lot of stuff popping in my head right now. So
yeah, it's okay.
I'm trying to. Alvarez got shot. He got shot in the butt.
Yep.
And it came out here,
Yep.
and I remember running up to him, and he's like, "Please tell me it's still there." He's just worried about his
little man.
Yeah, he's worried about his little man, and I was like, "Dude, you're good." I was like, "You're good, man." That's funny though. But
everything's still there.
yeah, everything was there. That's all he cared about. He's like,
Praise
oh,
God.
care badges, please. So anyways, there's kind of like a lull, and then we got the order that, hey, we're going to go through and clear the cemetery.
Oh my gosh. Now, is this, are we talking like Arlington Cemetery?
No,
are we
we're-
talking big statues?
This
Like,
is stuff you'll never see, I don't think,
Yeah.
anywhere else in the world. So there's catacombs, there's
Yeah.
tunnels.
oh,
It's crazy. Like and it's gigantic. It's miles big.
and there's terrorists in there.
Throughout it. And they're like, we're gonna go through and start pushing through the cemetery. And I remember I'm newly promoted to corporal at this time, so I had boots underneath me, and I was like, hey, like in my mind, I'm like, this is gonna be some crazy stuff. But you have to, for your guys, you gotta be like, all right, let's go whoop it on.
Yeah.
But man, yeah, and that was it. That was the start of that, and we were out there for 3 days.
Clearing.
My squad leader got killed. We went around. They were waiting for us. There was like a drop off, and we came around, and he took a bunch of rounds, went down, and then
What was that like taking care of your leader in that moment?
I just remember everything. I lost all of my hearing, and it wasn't from like an explosion. I don't remember hearing anything that whole time. I don't know what that was. My body did that or what. I just don't remember hearing anything for a lot of the time. But it's kind of surreal.
Where were they hiding?
So they had,
Were they hiding and
So-
waiting for you to come?
at that point they kind of moved back because they knew we were coming in, because
Yeah.
we made contact like pretty early on in there with them, and this is like stuff you never thought you'd be doing. Like you can smell them, hear them talking, like stuff I didn't think as a regular grunt,
That's like Vietnam stuff.
And you think about that as a I'm sure but like, yeah, we might shoot some mortars at people or do something, but you never get to that up close and personal where you can actually smell them and hear them talk and do all that stuff. So it got pretty up close and personal at that point.
Wow. And you had to push all the way through this entire cemetery.
So we pushed. Yeah, so we pushed. Reynoso got hit. It got dark. We got back. We did have a gunship come out. We took our MR relief, MR relief sleeves and put them on top of the catacombs we were at, so they knew we were friendlies. And they shredded some stuff around us.
Was there any issue with shooting up a cemetery or bombing a cemetery?
So at first, that's why we didn't go in. But
Right.
then because that's right at the same time. That's a good point. That's right at the same time that we were trying to like let
Hearts
the
and minds?
let the Iraqis do their thing. Like
Yeah.
let them make the call type. I don't know if you want to say that, whatever. But we got the call to do that, to go in from them. So we weren't going to go in there.
Yeah.
And then they're like, yeah, okay,
Go take it.
Yep.
Were there any points in this battle where you threw up a prayer, where you had a moment?
There was, and I remember there's a couple times on that deployment where I know prayers work. We were supposed to be, this is after this, but we were supposed to go hit a technical college over there where they're supposed to be caching weapons and stuff. And we were basically going to be dismounts for tanks. And I was like, oh, that's a death wish. No one wants to be a dismount walking next to a tank if
It's a big old target to shoot at.
Absolutely. So I'm like, oh, at that point I was like, a lot of us will probably not make it out of this, So at the time, Vaughn in our platoon, he's very in the Word. He's very much in the Word. And I just remember saying we packed in the track, and I was just like, oh man, just packed in this track, and I was like, this is it. And he said a prayer, and he's like, Lord, if this is not meant to be, it's not meant to be. Don't send us. He just went through a bunch of stuff, but I remember him saying that in the prayer. 2 seconds later, hatch drops. All right, mission canked. We're like, whoa.
What did that do for you?
It made me realize, that he does listen. And so I always had that in my heart, but I fell into bad stuff after that deployment. Does that make sense? Like, I never went back and was like, oh, Vaughn, can we start talking about Jesus? And it's a lot of it because when I got back off that second deployment, I didn't want to deal with anybody. I was like, I had my couple close friends, a couple close buddies in the Marine Corps. We'd go up to Rancho Cucamonga, get away from the base. And I was like, I didn't want to be around anything. So.
Were you having any manifestations of trauma?
I couldn't tell you. I think the way I dealt with it, it was just which wasn't a good thing. It was we partied a lot. We, drank a lot. Was drinking a lot. thought I was healthy, but I was drinking a lot, so I know I wasn't healthy. But yeah, it's sad when I look back at it. And I wish, and I know a lot of guys are struggling with this right now. I know exactly where and how long it takes. Even guys in the police force deal with this because we deal with nasty stuff every day.
Yeah.
And you just don't feel like, I don't want to say worthy, but
What would you say to a guy who's listening to this and he's far off from his faith and he's doing the job or he's dealing with the PTSD in the middle of it? What would you say?
I tell them it's pretty simple. Just open your Bible, get a Bible, and just start reading, because that's what it took me. And once you start reading the Word, He'll talk to you, and it might not be the right time, but if you stay in it, He'll come find you. Like, my wife made a point to me. She's like, she got into faith sooner than me, but she drew me to faith.
Yeah.
And she's like, you can go work out or train. Why can't you dedicate your life to God that way? And that got me bad. I was like, oh, so now before I go to the gym in the mornings, guess what I'm doing? I'm reading my Bible.
Yeah.
Before I do anything else, I read my Bible. And it's just, it's hard. I mean, it's going to be a grind. It's not easy, because if it was easy, all these guys would be saved immediately.
Yeah.
It's going to be a battle, especially the grief that some of these guys feel, or, situations they're in, because some of them don't have family structure. Like, I had my wife,
To support you.
Yep.
Did you carry guilt?
Yeah, I think I did. I thought about what if I should have been at that point or something. If Reynoso got hit, maybe I should have been one to turn the corner. You think about that stuff all the time. I have guilt. I had one of my buddies from Columbine that got killed in Fallujah. And I think about, man, we were only 19, 20 years old. Like, he never got in. And he didn't know faith either, man. It's like, I don't know. Sometimes I think about that, but yeah.
Yeah. So you get out of the military, and Michelle.
Yep.
That starts popping.
It does. That's she's amazing, and I would have been lost without her, for sure. I think she came into my life. She gave me hope again. And then once we started, going to church, and it took me a while. Like, we were going to church, but I wasn't fully engaged. Yeah. I was kind of going through the motions. I was picking stuff up, but I wasn't like I am now, like I should be.
You weren't dug in.
Nope. I wasn't dug in, and it's not easy to be dug in sometimes. Like, people think it's like, oh, these guys have it. It's not. It wasn't easy for me, but guess what? When you finally see it, it's unbelievable. It'll change your life.
And then how did becoming a cop become, part of the journey?
It's a funny story. So I got out, and I know a lot of guys in the military understand this. When you get out, it's a scary time, because you're like,
absolutely. Who am I?
I have nothing. I have the skills I learned in the Marine Corps. What am I going to do? Type thing. And she mentioned it. She's like, because she played soccer at UNLV in Vegas, and
is that how you ended up there?
Yep, that's how we ended up there. Because she goes, well, I know Vegas is hiring like crazy for cops. So it's like, oh, that sounds pretty cool. I was like, all right. So I applied for Vegas, and then we were living back in Denver at the time, so I applied for Denver. And the Vegas process went way quicker. Yeah. And thank God, because it's a way better police department. So
is it?
Oh yeah.
Wow.
So that started my journey as a cop there.
And we're talking like streets of Las Vegas.
We're talking
downtown.
Yeah. So the Strip's a little different. That's its own beast. But there's hood. North Vegas, Northeast Vegas is hood. I mean, you get we get the stuff from Cali, and then it's a different ball game. Like, people don't know about up there. So,
wow.
Yep.
And so you become a cop, go through the academy.
Yep. Through the academy. It was great going through the academy, because a lot of guys from our background was going through the academy with us. So it was a great group. Yeah. Great group of guys that have been battle tested dudes, and it was fun. So,
obviously you've been in combat, you pulled triggers, you've been through all those situations. I mean, what was it like now doing it in a cop uniform with civilians?
It was, I actually loved it. And it was like, the civilian world's definitely different. And you can't go, Marine Corps full throttle, bonkers, that's definitely, you can't do that as a police officer. So you learn those skills. Yeah. But once I got put in a bad area, like a rougher neighborhood to start.
Wow.
But that was good, because that's the cop I wanted to be. And I had good mentors in the police force teach me how to do things, and then I got into some dope stuff, like I
What do,
really
what, do you,
good,
what do you mean dope stuff?
like proactive narc stuff.
And what did
street
that
teams.
what did that look like?
Just sitting on dope houses, flipping CIs, stuff like that.
Okay, what's a CI?
The criminal informant.
Okay.
So I'd give them over to like the task force guys. So I'd sit in an unmarked car in our green BDUs and stop people trying to traffic drugs.
Wow.
Yeah.
And then you would try and catch informants, get informants?
So yeah, I'd take them and just give them to our task force. Like there's an FBI task force that works with some of our guys from the department. Give them to them, and they cultivate CIs, and that gets to the bigger stuff.
Wow.
Yep.
Were you ever part of something bigger that you had a hand in?
I don't know. I mean, it all leads to down towards Mexico and stuff like that. But yeah, there's a crazy story I had when I was a FTO. So I was a trained officer for about 5 years.
Yeah.
And I had a new guy who stopped these dudes on some crotch rockets. Dude didn't look like he belonged in the area, first off. The other dude took off running, so we didn't get him, but we got the dude on the bike. So I'm sitting there looking at him, and he's got looks like an M80 in his front pocket. I'm like, oh, that's weird. It's like February. So I pull it out. I'm like, what's this? He's like, oh, I like fireworks. I'm like, nah, you're a grown man. I don't think you should be carrying around fireworks. Yeah. So I asked my trainee, I said, hey, did you check his backpack? He's like, oh, yeah. Well, of course he didn't. So I went over, double check, pipe bombs on both sides. I go into the bag. I pull it out. So there's this gallon bag full of powder, and it looks like cement, like dry cement. It has some condensation in the bag.
Yeah.
I'm like, what's this? What's this? And I throw it on the car, and then I throw it down on the thing. So I was like, okay, this is some weird stuff. So I took pictures for our armor guys. That's our bomb techs.
Yeah.
And they're like, get out of there now. I was like, what? I was like, all right, we get out of there. So this dude was making the bomb materials that ISIS makes. Doesn't blow up. They blew it in place there.
Wow.
They go to this guy's place. They had to blow his trailer. He had all kinds of bomb making material there. So I was getting blown up in the middle of the night from our chain of command, like our DCs and stuff calling me. And they did allow 7, 8 search warrants that night on different spots, but it was just a whole big thing. But there, when I went to grand jury for this guy, I saw the bomb guys, and they're like, dude, you're lucky, man. It's like that. If that guy didn't know what he was doing, you guys would have blown up. So good thing he was a good chem guy.
So he was good at what he did. That's why you
that's why. Yeah, that's what they said. Good thing this guy knew what he was doing. If not, you'd be. So they said they're watching my body cam, going like.
And now your faith is more developed at this point.
It is. It's getting there. I wasn't there fully, but I was definitely knowing the Lord a lot more. And then towards the end of latter part of my police career, that's when I started diving in and changed my life. And
what was the moment that you really started to shift your heart?
When I had the talk with my wife, and is the constant, just kind of going through the motions. And then we had a long talk, and she made that comment to me about, you can do these things, but why don't you give your time to the Lord? And I was like, okay, I'm going to do this. I'm like, I train every day. I work out. I'm going to put and then once that's why I said, just start reading. And I started reading, and it changed. Something came over, took the weight off my shoulders. The craziest thing is when I started doing yard work, I started noticing nature, stuff that's crazy that people are like, oh really? I'm like, yeah.
Yeah.
I look at things, and I mean, it was pretty cool.
Being a cop, so when did you join the police force?
End of 2007, start 2008.
So, I mean, that's a time when cops are still respected.
Yeah.
And so you were a cop all through the shift.
Yep.
Through George Floyd.
Yep.
And then you just got out a year ago.
I did. It was.
What was that change like in your heart and what you saw?
Yeah, it was kind of hard to go through a little bit, because it was respected when I first started. Even the gangsters kind of showed respect to you. It was that new generation that came in, and then it was hard because it made the new guys not police the way they should police too. It's kind of scared them from being safe because they didn't want to get people upset with them. So it was a whole thing like that. It was hard for my family. I know my daughter when the whole George Floyd thing, the riots started. I think even before that, maybe the Ferguson thing.
Yeah, Ferguson.
Hands up, don't shoot thing. And my daughter had to go through some stuff where kids were saying stuff about cops at her school. And after the big riots, after the Ferguson thing, that's when I was like, we got to get out of here. Because it wasn't just that. It was the whole partially due to COVID and stuff and what they were doing in the schools. But
And that was in Nevada.
Nevada. Yeah. And it wasn't always like that. We prided ourselves in policing the way we police, and then it just started changing like that. And we're like, we got to get the kids out of here.
What was one of the biggest changes that you saw where you said this is not how things should be run in the police force?
The police force was always pretty good, man. I think our department itself was good. I think what changed was the DAs. Like, when they stopped prosecuting.
District attorneys?
Yep. When they stopped prosecuting your cases and you see people out, and you see guys out that are 10-time felons. I'm like, what are you doing out here? And then I stop him and he's got a gun. Like, what are we doing? This guy needs to go somewhere for a while and figure things out. He can't be back in society if he's going to do that. So it was things like that kind of got to you.
Wow. So you decide to get out of the police force?
I did. So I took a early retirement from Vegas and came out here. I gave law enforcement a shot out here.
Yeah.
It was just different. I think it's just culturally, police forces do things differently.
Yeah. It's also Middle Tennessee.
Yes. Also. But I gave it a shot. Didn't work out, but I think God put me where I'm supposed to be now and what I'm doing. So,
what are you doing now?
So I'm working for a Fortified Risk Group. It's dignitary security, so I do private school security, and it's great, man. So it's almost like full circle. I tell people at our school, they know my story kind of a little bit. They're like, holy cow. And I was like, yeah, it's kind of cool that I'm here to stop a threat if there's a threat.
Yeah.
So.
And what you've been through.
Yep.
What's been the biggest, I know, reading the word is obviously a big part of your life, but you kind of compare yourself to your childhood and then where you're at today. I mean, how do you set the tempo for faith in your home?
Well, you lead by example and praying, being in the Bible. Like my son, my 11-year-old has the Action Bible, so I'll read what I read, and I'm like, hey, dude, let's look at this together. And he goes through it. I want him to keep with it because it's not going to be easy. I'm trying to explain to him when you get to 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, you don't make the greatest choices. It's just going to happen. But if he has that baseline and he has that rock to come back to, I think he'll be just fine. My daughter's super in the faith. I think God had got us here for a reason, and this is for faith. And that's something I want to be more involved in. And it's just a great place.
Mike, you look at your story and you just kind of go through the snapshots of, Columbine.
Yep.
Should have been killed in a blast in a cafeteria, to, initial push into Iraq, and that initial push into a whole war, and then, the Battle of Najaf, surviving being a cop, all those years, and now being here. Why has God led you through these experiences? Do you ever reflect on that?
I do sometimes, and I think more as you get older you do. I think I wouldn't think at the time or even as a cop, all the crazy times I had as a cop, and you never thought, oh, well, that could have gone really bad pretty quick.
Yeah.
Because you're feeding off adrenaline at the time, all that stupid stuff. Yeah, I think it just, I don't know.
So let's dig into that. Why did God bring you through all these things? The majority of people haven't been through one of them.
I think God got me through all those, and then He showed me, because I've been thinking about this a lot, showed me faith, and I've felt the Holy Spirit, and I think I need to help people. I think stuff like you do, and I think there's many men, and it doesn't have to be vets. I mean, there's guys like I told you about that are just dabbling, and it's like, man, just fall into it and you can do it. Because if I have all this baggage and all the bad stuff I've done, and He still speaks to me, I'll speak to anybody.
Yeah.
I think that's the number one thing, but I know it's hard because I know it took me a minute to get there.
What was the resistance?
I don't know if it was the work I did. It doesn't make any sense because my wife was she was there. I had a beautiful family. But being in that work environment of nastiness day in and day out,
Yeah.
it just puts a dark shadow on you. It does. It was just dealing with nastiness all day. And I had a good switch on and off. Like, I could come home and be with my family and kind of like forget about what I did throughout the day.
Yeah.
But it does wear on guys, I think. Maybe not feeling, I don't want to say not worthy, but you just don't, I don't know. I think that's the number one thing. It's just so hard, I think, because in the grind of things, it's hard to come to it. Can't explain it, but it happened.
Yeah.
And when it happens, it's unbelievable. That's all if I could say one thing, you'll get there. And the guys that struggle, I tell them, just keep going. And that's the biggest thing. Is there's times when I went through my struggle where I'd be like, we go to church, and I'd be like, yeah, that's great. And then I'd, just kind of go through the motions. And it's like, why am I going through these motions? Like, I'm not getting anything. You have to read the Bible. Like, you have to read, and once you do that, he'll speak to you.
Yeah. Tell me a time in your life of reading the word that he's spoken to you. You've been reading something that it clicked.
It's funny between the Old and New Testaments, like, because I'll bounce back and forth and how they mirror each other and stuff like that. And I think just the whole part of what he did for us. Like, if I'm reading, like, when he's being persecuted, like, all the bad things I did, and he died with the torture he went through and stuff, carried the cross. I mean, it's like I can be better, and I can do this, and it's hard. I mean, it's not easy. It doesn't come naturally easy to me, but I think that's it, man. You just think about what he did, and I just pray for some of these guys that I know struggle. And I know guys in my platoon. We had guys, our younger guys, commit suicide.
Yeah. From the Marine Corps?
Yeah, 2 guys in our platoon. They were younger. They were our junior Marines, so they were on the second deployment with us.
After Najaf.
Yep. And they it was a weird time. They did it too when they had family and kids, and like it just broke our hearts, man. It's like you don't know.
Did you find out why? Was there any information on why?
No, and then we had another guy basically drink himself to death.
Yeah. Alcohol poisoning.
Yep.
Have you ever had any manifestations of PTSD, dreams, tremors, panic attacks?
I did earlier on.
Yeah.
Like when I was first dating my wife and stuff. A lot of it's went away, and a lot of the stuff, I don't know if my brain's compartmentalized it or something, because there'd be stuff. I had one of my senior Marines retired from the Marine Corps, and he was telling a story about when we were in Iraq. I totally forgot. I was like, it all came back to me, but I was like, I totally forgot about it.
It had been gone.
Gone. He was, we talked for a couple hours, and I was like, man, I must put away some of that stuff, because it just, bad in my memory. My memory, my wife was like, you have the worst memory. I'm like, huh. So,
there's a lot of stuff in there competing.
Yeah.
So, as we kind of come to a close, Mike, I always kind of like to ask the question, where do you sense God calling you next? What do you think is the next phase of your life for his destiny for you?
I think the first thing is I need to get involved in our church.
Yeah.
That's the way to start.
Yeah.
Where I want to go, I think the message you portray is really good to guys that go through a lot of this stuff that might not have faith or thinking about it.
Yeah.
And maybe get involved in some way of that. I've also had a thought of doing, I think when you struggle with somebody, it's good. So like doing I don't want to say physical fitness, but like starting up something like that where guys get together, we train together.
Yeah.
And then we read the Bible,
Yeah.
do a Bible study.
Yeah.
Because I think if you hurt a little bit, it's a little better.
Wrestle a little bit.
Yep. I think that's a good thing. 'Cause your mind's a lot more clear when you go through stuff like that. So.
Yeah.
But we'll see. I think it's every day's a new day, and I just want my kids. I pray for my kids every day, and it's working.
Yeah.
My kids and my wife, and I'm so happy to be here where we're at in this beautiful state.
Yep.
And it's a good place to be.
Beautiful, safe state.
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah. Well, Mike, thank you for coming on. I'd love to pray with you.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's been an honor to hear and tell your story.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah.
Appreciate it, bro.
So, Lord, thank you for Mike and just the work you're doing in his life. And God, I thank you that his testimony and his story is for a purpose. And that, Lord, him coming on here and telling this story, it's going to be amplified. And I pray, Lord, you would use it. You would organize it for him, Lord, to share it with more men. And God, I pray that you would heal any area of his heart or his mind that has compartmentalized or is still carrying anything from his times in service. And Father, thank you for this man and use him for your kingdom. In Jesus' name. Amen. Thanks, buddy.